Hi everyone, welcome to another mental health mini, a slightly different one today. Normally we talk to someone about their ups and downs through their experience through mental health, but this week is Children's Mental Health Week, and I wanted to kind of more focus on that. And as a result, I've invited one of our previous guests back, who's a slight change of name since we last saw you. You're now Teacher Tommy T, so welcome.
Thank you so much for having me back, David. It was a change up because I kind of was like stuck to one platform, and as soon as you change the name, things like everything gets shown a bit more. So it was just a thing to change as well. So Teacher Tommy T, it still kind of rolls off the tongue a bit. So yeah, there we are. So yeah, here we are now.
So as I say, welcome back. I wanted to have a chat with you because obviously being Children's Mental Health Week, with the job that you do, you're very open about. You talk a lot about it, and I kind of wanted to look at ways that we might be able to help, or at least advise children or people that might know children that are going through stuff, because you see a lot of things today, unfortunately, where people are very much um, oh, children have it easier these days for X, Y, and Z. Oh, children don't understand what depression is, or they're just a little bit unhappy. It's not the same. When it's not true. They just have different experiences these days. So, with your job and your knowledge, obviously, the first thing I want to ask is what pressures do children have today? Obviously, it's very different from our day, but they still have them. So,
Yeah, I think there's similarities to the pressures that they have. I also liked that little intro you just said there. You hit the nail on the head. I think we probably didn't label things back in our day. I was talking to a friend recently about something I went through when I was younger, and as I described it, I said I think that was depression, and they're like, "Yeah, that's depression. That's 100% depression." But we just didn't label that, and it's good that we do label these things now because then we can clearly say that's what that is. That's what I'm going through, and people can sort of understand it a bit more. But that's a really strong point that you said. But yeah, the academic kind of side of stress is that the big thing. Even it starts at year six, believe it or not. So when I do my lives, I get year sixes come on. So this is people the age of 11 asking me, should I be worried about my year six exams? And this, it's obviously the answer is no. And actually, if you are a teacher, you'll know it's the teachers are ones who stress about that because it's more about reflection of teaching, the education at the schools, how they're performing, and counting further. It really isn't about the student, but for some reason, the year sixes think, "Oh my goodness, I've got to do an exam, and if I fail, does that affect me at high school? Is that my life determined?" And it's like, no, it's not. But from their eyes, their point of view, their mindset, it is, and that's starting at 11. So that's an academic stress. Then they've got that feeling when they go up to high school about being in year seven, and that's a really hard transition. So it's that feeling of I was a child in year six. I've now gone to high school, and now we're told we have to be adults. But they are only 12. These are 12-year-olds. So they're instantly told you've got to grow up fast. And it's like, hang on, they're still a child. Don't make them grow. A lot of parents like get upset at these primary school leavers do because if they've had brothers or sisters and things like that who have then moved on to the high school, they know that innocence, that childlike way is gone, and the child is now some 12-year-old young adult, whichever whatever that is. I think I always say to year sevens, yes, take high school seriously, but also you're still a child. Have fun, enjoy it. You should still have some cuts and scrapes at break time playing football, bulldog, and rounders, and not worry about what image looks like or how your hair is parted or whatever. I know, like, or what you're doing here and everything. And then it goes right up to GCSE A levels. You know that they're the things that academically they're going through at schools. And that's just a snippet. I will list some more in today's thing as well, but I just thought I'd get into the academic side really.
right, and it's a very good point. I mean, there's for me, from what I see, and I admit I don't see a lot of this. Like you and a few friends and colleagues of mine who are teachers will see it a lot more, but you have the academic side and then you have the personal side. Obviously, with where we are in the world today, with social media being so prevalent, it's very different to when we grew up, and we face pressures in the playground. These guys face far more pressures in the playground and online as well.
Yeah,
um
100%. I
and
mean,
obviously
yeah.
you being online yourself quite a lot will see a lot more of this.
Yeah, I mean that brings. It's like I've got three other points I was going to add in. So you've hit one of them, and it's social media. Obviously, it we never had social media when we were at school. I think we had Snake 2 on the on the old phones on the Nokias. and that was about it. Texting was just about starting up. But then you were very careful with how much you would text and what you'd write in the text because you didn't have much credit. So
Yeah.
there wasn't that issue. Online presence, I think it was messenger stuff, and that was about it. Children today have about a million different apps telling them how they should look, how they should sound, what they should wear, how they should stand, what clothing they should have. I read an article, I think it was on the BBC recently, an 8-year old, people as young as 8 are using anti aging makeup things for their face. This is 8-year olds. So I don't ever, I remember putting my makeup, my mum's makeup, my sister's makeup for a laugh, going, look at me. But they're actually doing this for real. Like they want to look young. They're told by, social media, whoever that it may be out there, to be this way and to conform at such a young age. This is 8 years old, and I've seen the difference in my own daughter, how she used to be preschool, how she was in reception to year one, and then moving up a little bit. It's we're starting to see difference of like she'll go out sometimes in the middle of winter in something. I'm like, you must be freezing, but that's because that's what they all wear on social media, and that is a big thing. And yeah, we had influence when we were younger. David Beckham's sort of mohawk was a thing. I remember, people doing that. But that honestly was about it. It was always a little thing like that. But it's everywhere. Where we can back in the day where we could go home, switch off, and we literally would switch off. We wouldn't be on this or in our rooms as much, probably on the PlayStation a bit. The kids are wired in till 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock. I've got kids, some who I have to teach with, and they're up till 2, 3 o'clock in the morning playing games, or they feel they have to be on social media or on whatever their Snapchat, what is it, points are. I mean, it's crazy, and yeah, that's just the social media side of things. And like you said, they go to school, they got social media to worry about when they get home. When does it stop for them? When do they actually get a break? It's awful.
And that's the thing. And I'm intrigued to hear the other 2 points you've got because I mean the three that I can think of where pressure comes from are you have school, so in academia, as you were saying, you have social media these days and friendship. Family can provide a lot of pressure to you. Some families are really on it, really absolutely wonderful, really encouraging. Some families can be really strict. That's not to say that anyone is right or wrong, but obviously it doesn't necessarily help when you're struggling somewhere and then you come home and you don't have necessarily that support network either.
No,
So
and yeah, you're absolutely right. Family is one of my other points, and it goes twofold. So a lot of people think if you go to a very wealthy kind of school, like a private school, say, and they think those kids are fine. They think they've got everything silver spoon sorted. It's not. I've worked at these schools, and I've worked at these sort of richer summer camps in America, and I can tell you it's the other side of things. Mum and dad are always away. They're working hard. Yes, they are. They're earning a lot of money. Good for them. But their kids aren't getting that attention from their parents. Their parents are sending these schools. They're looking for these grades. The kids don't get that. So some kids do at these schools. Obviously, that's not a reflection of every child who goes to these schools. So you get that side of things, though, where when I used to have to do some clubs I worked at, and they were like, "Oh, it's just nice to have a chat with someone as an adult. I don't get that from my dad." And I understand that because parents are working away. They'll come back at the weekend and not have much time with the kids. So that's that one side for private schools. And obviously for state school kids, yeah, there is that pressure. You've nailed it on the head there. Wanting them to do well. With way GCSEs and A levels and universities are going, things are getting harder for people to get involved with. You've got to try and convince your parents if you're going to get that kind of money on that loan to go to university. Jobs are harder to come by. Things are getting harder for, especially in an SEN side of the sector. We're trying to train our students up to be the best they possibly can be, but they've always going to have that SEN barrier or that label over their heads as well. So there's that added pressure about what work are they going to do, what are they going to provide. They can't leave the house. Most kids can't leave the house now. To what I don't know statistics very well. I'm not that person, but I'm guessing there's a lot of people at home who are like in their 20s now, 20s, 22, 23, still haven't left home because of financial issues. So there's more pressure there that starts in high school. So that's my, and the last one I was going to say is just the news.
yeah,
The news itself can actually provide so much anxiety and pressure. And it's great that we have shows like Newsround. I always tell my students, go and watch Newsround because it's kind of simplified the news story. It breaks it down in layman's terms. It's still scary though. I've got students who will fear watching the news because of anxiety, because of that can then affect their mental health, and obviously not want to come in because they're just so scared about talking about what could be going on in Ukraine or what became going on over in Israel and Palestine, Gaza, and with other things, even bigger worldwide that people are talking about right now that could be going on. So that is a big one, and the problem is they get news off other social media apps. They're not getting it from the BBC, the ITVs, Channel 4s. When we used to come home, we would sit with our parents. Perhaps I had to. My dad always put the BBC News on, and I was praying that he'd put BBC Two on for The Simpsons and then Buffy, but he'd put BBC on. Yeah. But then I'd started learning, and I'd go, "Oh, does that mean that's going to happen to me?" I remember when the Iraq War kicked off. It was like, am I going to be enlisted? Like, am I going to have to sign? I'm 16. Is that what's going to happen? He's like, "No, let me talk you through how things work." So the news is a big one. You need to I always say to my students, you need to watch it, but you also need to talk to your parents about it and your teachers about it. That's why we have personal social development lessons where we go, right, these are the headlines this week. What does it mean? What does it actually mean? And then I show them YouTube and TikTok and Snapchat videos where someone's just scaremongering to clickbait, get you to watch it. And so there you go. News and social media kind of going like that. It's a crazy one.
I think that there's something that crosses several of those divides, and it's about filtering out what is actually important to you and what is being delivered to you. And obviously at different ages and different people, that is different. And that kind of brings me on to my second point. There's all these challenges going on, and we've spoken 5 minutes about these challenges, so they definitely exist for children and for kids and young adults. What can we do to help them as a society or individually?
I've really thought about this one. So as a parent, right, being a teacher now I'm a parent now, I'm being a teacher, so I've seen it from both sides now, and there's some high schools that ban phones, and then everyone gets an uproar about it. I think it was in a school, perhaps in Yarmouth. I hope I haven't quoted that wrong, but I think it was in Yarmouth. They said we're going to ban phones. But part of the angle is kids go to school, like I said, with the videos, they're making TikToks and YouTubes, trying to it's distracting. Just like a phone amnesty would be a really good start. Like, say to parents, like at primary school, we've got kids who are already using phones. They know how to use tablets, but could we have like an amnesty, like in your mum and dad groups that you have on WhatsApp? Could we say, like, look, we're all the reception class. Let's all come together from reception onwards. We're all going to be with these kids, classmates up to year 6. Let's come together and come up with a kind of an amnesty where we say, let's not download that app, because the problem is, and this is the big thing, and lots of parents know exactly what I mean. One kid downloads that, another kid downloads it, everyone has to, because their fear of the FOMO, fear of missing out. Oh, yeah. They've got it, I have to have it. And it's, if you had a chat group like saying, we are all aware of this, but don't do it. Don't download it. Let's all do this instead. Let's make an active promise that we could perhaps have, instead of being on your phones, come down for dinner and sit around a table. Put your phones in the middle of the table. Whoever touched their phone first has to do the washing up. That would be a good incentive, right? Have a film night. I know you're not talking, but you're all together in one room. You're watching something together. Perhaps you could have a conversation after about it, what made it funny, characters you liked, or things that came up from it. Board game nights are good. I mean, my wife got Kaplunk out this weekend, and we've been playing Kaplunk. I won twice. I was chuffed with that. I walked away. Didn't want to play again. But yeah, that was a great fun just to write about that. I took my daughter on a cycle ride. You could get your children to join local youth clubs. Money can be tight though, and people would be saying, well, how does that? It could be quite pricey. There are some ones that don't cost anything. There's after-school clubs and schemes that can happen. Scouting organizations used to be fantastic, where kids they have to put their phone down to tie knots, to build shelters, to make a fire together. Things like forest schools that are used in schools, you can do outside as well. So there's lots of things parents can do, but I just sometimes feel like if you nipped it in the bud early, really early, obviously when they go to high school, it's a different ball game. It would be a tricky one, because but I think the final part as what we can do is talk. And I know we say this all the time. I think I said this last time I was here, talking to your child, just now and again, knock on the door and say, you're right. Like, how's things going? Did you want to chat? The more you keep doing that will break them down. They will eventually start talking to you. And I think it's that fear of going to the room and what to say, and just listening into a conversation, saying to them like, oh, tell me about something that happened at school, and they'll start to tell you stuff, and they'll see how you react. And I think it's just not like getting too like jumpy at them, and yeah, just have a conversation with your kids. Really, I think that's the best one. Just do something proactive with them all the time.
I think, yeah, and you say talk to them, and this is what we say whether it's children or adults. Like talking helps, whether you are the one in trouble and you need to talk, or whether you are talking to someone that you think is going through some challenge. That should apply whatever the age bracket to
Yeah.
anyone. So I think that is a particularly good point that I think we just go, they say go and talk to your children, or if you're a teacher, talk to the parent. If you see a problem, I obviously not being a teacher, I don't know what cause you have, but like if you see one of the children struggling in school, there must be some kind of group that you can help, whether you join with the parents or the teachers or have a chat with the kid's best friend. I don't know. But they definitely, children have these challenges and we need to help them so that they don't. I mean, a lot of the problems that adults have in later life have been developed as a result of something happening during childhood. Usually, not always, and
Yeah.
I appreciate that is a sweeping generalization, but it is quite a significant thing a lot of the time.
Definitely a big
So
factor.
um so I appreciate you coming on because you definitely know more about this kind of stuff than I am. So what resources as a SEN teacher do you see out there for children? Because the resources that I can see are at the very extreme end where we have amazing, and I don't want to risk to detract from them. We have amazing groups that we work with, and I've worked with. I can know Pyrus and Young Minds are brilliant groups, but and they will say they're for everyone, not just for the extreme end. But that seems to be it's what resources are there, as you quite rightly said, to nip this in the bud early if someone is struggling? What exists out there?
So with from a teacher side, I can quickly sum that up. So where I work, it's fantastic. We've got tutorial supervisors who will meet with the student on their course, seeing how they're just checking in with their academic stuff, obviously, but also mentally, seeing if they're okay physically as well, saying making sure everyone's accessing things around the school that you go to. We link up with the parents as well, so you've got a chain kicking in as well already. And then if things are struggling a bit for some of our students, they have like a mental health well-being clinic in which they can talk to someone as well, and they're amazing. I can't say their name, and I won't say the school, but they're amazing what they do for some of my students, and I always say thank you to them. Between those TSs and that team works so well, and then we have a wider wellbeing service as well. But obviously, you can imagine it gets used a lot, and there's sometimes a bit of a wait for it, and it happens, and that's a big one. Um, Externally, I've looked into a lot of things. I mean, COP is a good one for just generally like social media. Like if they get worried about what they're posting and things that they do, COP's got some resources on things like that, and it's just basically a safe website. If you maybe posted stuff you don't want it, you don't didn't like or something like that. I've looked up a few as well. There's one called Learn to Live Youth Clinic, and it's like a 10-week program. I'm not sure what the funds are for this one, but it's a 10-week program where it's like a basically, like I would call it a spa retreat for children. I can't believe I'm saying there's such a thing. That's quite a worry that we have these, but it's great that we do now.
Yes.
But it's a weird one. But I looked into it. It's a 10-week program where they basically detox from social media, so no phones. Parents come in. They do sort of it's like an intervention. To kind of grab them before things might go really bad for them. So there's other pathways in which we worry about our young children going down. County Lines is a big one in Norfolk. It's a huge thing we need to keep an eye on. We're very vulnerable in this area. You get the gangs from bigger cities come up this way, and they can put pressures on us. So that's another thing, is learning about County Lines, learning about those signs as well. So there's a great resources on County Lines for that one as well. And then you've got things like Childline and websites where you can do sort of art courses. They've got a great little toolkit where you click on it and it's got like arts, crafts and games and just little worksheets and things you can have discussions, things for parents that might help, and anything for children which they can maybe voice it. A lot of children don't know how to say it. So draw it, write it,
Okay.
color it in. Like art books are fantastic as well. So that might be a sort of a cheaper option, but there are loads of things, and like I said earlier, I mean, if resource wise, again, anything where they can go to like a local youth club, or a religious one as well, going to church if that's helpful, if your family's religious. There's lots of support in your local churches. I mean, you could go to a local church anyway, not being Christian, walk in and say, I'd like to just talk to someone. I mean, ministers are trained to listen. They're the best at listening, and other churches are also just as welcoming. And so yeah, I there's lots of resources out there. It's finding the one that works for you, and I think it depends if you want to talk about it, if you want to, yeah, if you actively want to get help as well for young children. And yeah, so there are lots, but they're the three I kind of recommend. But definitely linking with the schools. Schools teachers are trained, all the LSAs and teacher assistants and tutorial supervisors and mental health wellbeing people at our school. We're all trained in this. We're not experts, but we certainly know how to do a bit of mental health first aid. I think the last thing I'd say is we teach the bucket method. I'm sure you've heard of the bucket method, but we get the children sort of to get a piece of paper, we draw a bucket, and we talk about the day-to-day normal issues that kind of arise, like your parents waking you up in the morning rudely, homework not being done. They're like regular things. We can't help you fix that. But then it's the other things that start piling on, like social media presence, how you look, how you talk, if you have a boyfriend, if you have a girlfriend, what sexual orientation you are, how do you tell your parents that? And then when one little thing comes onto that bucket where it's built up like this, you just explode. And everyone's like, where did that come from? What was that behavior all about? And you're like, yeah, and they're going through puberty as well. So the bucket is a good visualization to show, getting your child to sort of sit down and them telling you, like visually showing you like what their problems are. And then as a parent, you can see it and go, right, okay, let's see if we can take some of those layers away. And the bucket then empties. Sorry, I waffled there, but there you go.
No. It's all really good. I just want to make a slight apology to you and anyone that's watching. The sun has set while I've been talking to you, which is why it's gone really dark in this room.
It's light here.
There is. I just haven't turned it on. No. So thank you for all of that. Obviously the resources, and particularly talking about some of the pressures that they face. I want to bring one thing in, and I hope you don't mind me bringing this up, but you talk. Obviously, you do quite a lot of lives on TikTok, and yeah. I do watch some of them. We've interacted briefly on some of them, and you're very, very good at when some of the questions are asked about. I don't know if this is the right wording, calming the situation down. Like you'll get a message that someone's quite stressed about something or worried, and I don't mean, again, I'm going to use a word I don't mean here, flippant, but you're kind of like very much. Don't worry about it. It's fine. Absolutely. And it's nice to see that someone on social media, and there are many others, you aren't the only one, who don't escalate a situation of someone that's already concerned about something. So I find that really impressive to see, because it would be very easy to send that person away feeling worse than when they came to you. So it's really good to see that.
I tell you what, when I'm normally doing a wash and go, or I'm doing a Kahoot quiz, I'm just chatting like this, right? And the chat will be, if I wear this on a live, it's worldwide, this live, the abuse I get in a positive way. A lot of Ipswich fans seem to be talking a lot more to me lately. I think it's because they've got to the Championship and they might be doing well. But obviously, if I went on tonight, Liverpool would be having a nice little chat with me as well. But no, what happens is, my point to that is, it's we're all having a really lovely time. It's a positive chat. I've got music in the background. My kids are like chatting and we're all having a laugh. And then someone will then disclose something. I've got moderators who'll be like, have you seen that? And I'm like, right, let's read it out. And then I think otherwise I could just quickly glance at that and ignore it, but I can't. And I just worry that sometimes it could be someone just wanting maybe me to read that. But there are genuine people on those chats. A lot of it's to do with bullying at school. And then I always say the same three things. Get off this app, go downstairs, talk to your parents right now. I want you to do it. I want you to go downstairs and walk down with you and tell them, and I'll say it for you right now, and I'll say it. They are being bullied. They need support. And then you will write an email to the teacher. They will go frog march up to that school and go and talk to your form tutor, head of year, whatever. And some of them come back and say, I did that. It worked. Sometimes they come back and say, I did that. It didn't work. And we talk about that. Others disclose things a lot heavier. And I have to also remember it's got to be a safe space. There could be a young person who's about to write something. I need to make sure they're safe. Otherwise, there could be someone lurking in the chat who goes, "I'll talk to you," and you're like, "Nah, nah, we're not having that." So you have to be very mindful about how safe young people are online. And I sometimes say to them, I always say this, you'll hear this. I really appreciate you telling me this. I think it's very brave that you would say that online, but I'd like remind you, you need to be very careful where you're saying this. And I think you should come off there, go speak to your family or sibling, write it down, draw it, speak to your teacher. But I just want to acknowledge them because I always worry there could be someone lurking there going, "I'll talk to you," and this might not be the right person. So you have to be very careful of the balance. And yeah, if I get into a conversation with some of them, I'm like, oh, I need to be very careful what I say because I say I'm not a medical expert. I'm not an expert in autism, even though I'm a SEN teacher. I'm still not the best at what I do. I might ill advise you. They might have an educational healthcare plan that says they have to do this, and I've just gone against it. So I have to be very, very mindful and very, very careful. And lastly, I go to my safeguarding team and say, "This came up on my live. What advice should I give next time?" And then they would say, "Right, you might want to say this in the future or use this resource." So, but it's taken me a long time to get used to doing that, and it's still keeps me on my toes. And I'm like this sometimes, like, God, did I say the right thing? So yeah, it's quite nerve wracking, believe it or not.
Well, I like I say, it's nice to see that it happens. For whatever reason that may be, whether it's to help that child or to make sure that someone else isn't taking advantage of the situation, whatever the
Mm.
reasoning, it's great to see. Um, Tommy, as always, I want to thank you so much for coming on and talking about the subject. It's a difficult subject to talk about, especially when it concerns children, because
Mm.
children are vulnerable as adults are, and the difference is adults get told, "Oh, yeah, you've got depression," whereas kids, "Oh, you're just a little bit sad," and it's not fair because these things do exist for the children.
Yeah,
So it's been really lovely talking to you, getting an idea from your point of view, what's out there, what can be helped, what challenges are faced, and maybe people might already know, and but maybe may not go, "Oh, I didn't think about that. Maybe I might help my go and see my daughter or my son and see if there's an issue."
yeah,
As a if we
definitely.
can help one person, it's worth it. So.
No, thank you so much for having me as well. Thank you. Cheers.
Right. As I say, at the end of this video, everyone, there'll be a bunch of resources that you'll be able to call if you've got any issues. But as always, Canaries Trust mental health team are here to try and signpost you to the right places. As Tommy said about him, we're not experts either, but we know the places to go to that will be able to help you. So any questions, please ask. But other than that, Tommy, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, David. Thank you, everyone. Cheers.